Namaskar. I am Dr. Ashutosh Agrawal, Professor from ITERC College of Management, affiliated with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. I am here to give you the lecture on Unit 2 of Investment Analysis and Portfolio Management. This is a paper of Finance Specialization. The code is KMB FM01. This is the second unit and lecture 1 related with risk and return, concept of risk, components of risk. So, let us start. Let us start with the return. Return, what we perceive, the outcome of an activity which we have started. The return which we are getting out of the investment, the return which we are getting out of the activity which we are done. Return is the reward for sacrificing the present consumption component. Means present consumption components, if we are sacrificing our present consumption components, and for that sacrificing, if we are getting certain outcome, then that will called as the return. The certain outcome, certain reward for which we are sacrificing our present consumption component, that is called as the return. Return may be called also as the sacrificing from our present consumption and the return of an outcome. Return is the outcome of an activity which we are doing, whether it is a financial activity, non-financial activity, any of the activity it can be. The return, if we are talking about the types of return, it can be the revenue return, also called as the current return, or capital return. Revenue return, once we are making the investment, say for example, in a bank FDR, we are getting the regular interest out of the FDR. We are making the investment in post office deposit, we are getting the interest. We are making the investment in corporate company bonds, company debentures, corporate debentures. We are making the investment in sovereign gold bonds. There are numerous investment avenues where we can make the investment. So, this investment which we are making and getting the regular return out of it, that can be called as the revenue or current return. Revenue return, as the accounting term, revenue means the short term, the capital return means the long term. The short term return, or we may say the return which is of regular in nature, like the interest in the form of interest, in the form of dividend on shares, it can be the equity shares, preference shares. If we are getting the regular return from our investment, that is called the revenue return or current return. This is a periodic cash flow such as dividend, interest. We are making the investments, say for example, we are making the investment in our FDR, fixed deposits. Under this fixed deposits, we are getting the regular interest, and this regular interest which we are getting will be termed as the revenue return. We are getting the interest on quarterly basis, we are getting the interest after an year. So, this is called as the revenue return or the current return. Once we are talking about the capital return, this return is due to price appreciation. Say for example, we have made the investment in one of the share, in one of the scrip of any of the company. If the price of that scrip, if the price of that share has been increased, and once we are sell it off, then the return which we are getting due to the price appreciation is called as the capital return. Capital return, one more thing on capital return is also, say for example, if we are making the investment in our fixed assets like purchase of land, purchase of building, and we are resell it at a higher price, then the price difference between the purchase price and the selling price will be called as the capital return. It means, it is very clear from the concept, if we are want to find out the total return, then it is the summation of revenue return plus the capital return. So, total return is equal to revenue return plus capital return. Under this revenue return plus capital return, revenue return which we are getting on periodic basis, monthly, quarterly, half yearly, yearly, and the capital return which we are getting at the time of dispose of the assets, dispose of the assets, that is called as the capital return. Capital return, once we are talking about the price appreciation, the difference between the acquisition price and the selling price. Say for example, if we have purchased an asset, for rupees, purchase price 5,000. We have purchased an asset 5,000 and we have sell it at rupees 6,000, and during a year the revenue return we get rupees 500. If we want to calculate the return, over here, then the return is equal to revenue return plus difference between the capital return, price appreciation, divided by the purchase price into 100. If we want to calculate it, then it will be 1,500 upon 5,000 multiplied by 100. It would be 1, 2, 3, 30%. This is 30% return. So, this is the return how we are calculating. The return is the reward for sacrificing our present consumption, that is the return, and return is of two types, revenue return and capital return. Revenue return is the periodic cash flow, capital return the difference between the return of price appreciation due to price appreciation. Total return is equal to revenue return plus capital return. Say for example, if we have purchased a asset value rupees 5,000 1 year ago, now we are selling it at rupees 6,000. During a year we are getting a revenue return out of the, say for example, due to the interest, due to the any kind of dividend, we are getting from this asset rupees 500. Then the total return would be the revenue return plus the difference between the price upon the purchase price into 100. It would be 1,500 divided by 5,000 into 100, 30%. So, return is 30%. This is the return. So, let us start with the next slide, move to the ahead. Risk. Now, the concept of risk. Risk is a very interesting concept. It is the possibility of loss. Sometimes it is also called as the probability of non-realization of expected return. What we have expected and not realizing, that is the possibility, or we may say the, if there is a probability of not getting the expected return, that might be a risk. Say for example, if we are making the investment in the stock market, we are expecting that the stock market will give us a 20% return, 15% return, and we are in dilemma, we are in a probability that it might not give that much of return, or our return we are getting actually that is 12%. So, the difference is also called as the risk, the probability of non-realization of expected return. And the third is the variability of return. If the return out of an asset is variable, say for example, sometimes it is 5%, 6%, 7%, sometimes 10%, 12%, then there will be the variability of return. And if there is a variability of return, then that variation is also termed as the risk. So, risk may be the possibility of loss, risk may be the probability of non-realization of expected return, risk is the variability of return. If we are talking about the components of risk, there are two components. First is calculative risk, second is non-calculative risk. Let us start with the non-calculative risk. Let us start with the non-calculative risk. A non-calculative risk is the psychological negative state of mind. If we think positive, then there will be no risk. The risk is always once we are thought of negative once our thinking goes to negative, then we feel the factor of risk. Risk is also termed as the factor. Risk is a psychological state of mind. Say for example, someone can ride a bike at a speed of 120, 140, 150, and someone cannot even ride a bike because of the safety. It should not be ride accordingly, but because he is the trained person, he is the sport person on the sports ground, he can ride a bike at a speed of 150, 140, but someone cannot ride because he is having a risk that he might get accidented. Someone can jump from the 5th floor, 6th floor because he is an athlete for the long jump, but someone cannot jump for the high jump. So, this is the negative or psychological negative state of mind that is called as non-calculable risk, which cannot be calculated because it is different in different individuals. My state of mind is different, another your state of mind is different. So, non-calculable risk always be a negative state of mind. If we think negative, then we feel the risk. If we think positive, then there will be no risk. Second part, that is the calculable risk. It is the deviation between the actual and expected return assigned with probability. If we are assigning the actual and expected return deviation with the probability factor, then this is called as the calculable risk. This calculable risk are of two types: systematic risk and systematic risk. Under the financial term, we are also calculating the calculable risk, which is the where we are assigning the probabilities with the deviation between the expected return and the actual return. This calculable risk are of two types: systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Systematic risk, there are which always be systematized. It is also called as systematic risk is also called as uncontrollable risk. Uncontrollable risk, whereas it is called as controllable risk. Controllable risk. So, once we are talking about the systematic risk, which is the uncontrollable risk, it is called market risk, interest rate risk, purchasing power risk, political risk, international and natural risk. Systematic, which is uncontrollable risk, which cannot be controlled, which cannot be minimized, which is not in the hands of an investor, which is not in the hands of someone, individual or a firm or a government, even government. So, this is called as the systematic risk. Like, first is the market risk. Let us start with the types and details of these risks. Systematic risk, as the risk is, systematic risk affect the entire market in the same way, no one can control. Effect cannot be changed or diversified. The systematic risk effect cannot be changed or diversified, whereas unsystematic risk, this risk varies companies to company, which is controllable, which can be minimized, which can be managed. Once we are talking about the risk management, we are managing our unsystematic risk, mainly major part for unsystematic risk and the lower part for the systematic risk, because it is uncontrollable. Effect can be changed or diversified. Under the unsystematic risk, the effect can be changed, effect can be diversified. Effect, if we are making, say for example, there are two companies for investment purpose, we are making the investment in one company because we feel, we have calculated that in another company there is a high risk factor. That company risk is termed under the topic of unsystematic risk. One by one, I am explaining the types. There is a graphical presentation of systematic and unsystematic risk. Systematic risk, this is the on the y axis, we are having the risk factor. On the x axis, we are having the time factor. With the passage of time, the time is passing out, and the risk, systematic risk, is always cannot be minimized. It always be systematized, is it always be equal, it always be parallel, it cannot be minimized. This, it cannot be minimized anyway, this cannot be minimized. But under the unsystematic risk, this unsystematic risk can be minimized up to an extent. This can be at this point. Now, once we start managing it, it goes down, 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 but remember one thing, it cannot touch this point. It cannot touch this point. ये point touch नहीं कर सकते. It can be minimized up to an extent but cannot be zero. It means unsystematic risk can be minimized up to an extent but it cannot be zero. So, under this systematic risk component, unsystematic risk components, we are having market risk, interest rate risk, purchasing power risk, political risk, international risk, natural risk. These are uncontrollable risk. Under the unsystematic risk component, we are having the business risk, financial risk, management risk, liquidity risk, default risk. Let us start explaining these types of systematic risk. First is the market risk. Due to alternative forces of bulls and bear market, forces are tangible and intangible. These are the due to the demand and supply factor. One of the biggest risk is the demand and supply factor cannot be managed. The demand of a particular scrip, demand of a particular share, if the demand is increasing, that forms the bull market. If the demand of that share is decreasing, that forms the bear market. There are various factors which are forcing the market to show the performance under the bear form or the bullish form. Like if certain good information is floated in the market, then under the good information float in the market moves under the bullish trend. Once the bad information float in the market, not commensurate with the economy, not commensurate with the company, it shows the bear market. So, under the market risk, the demand and supply factor of a particular share cannot be controlled. The demand and supply of a particular share, supply means the selling of a particular share, demand is the buying of particular share. If the buying of a particular share is demanded more, then the price of that share will go boost. Like take the example of one of the company, Indian company, Reliance Industries Limited. In the last last 2 months of July and June 2020, the Reliance Industries share shows a bullish trend. Previously, it shows the bearish trend. The information which they have floated in the market after a AGM, annual general meeting, the market price of the share floated up because of the good information floated in the market. So, it shows the bullish trend. Next is the forces are tangible and intangible. These forces are tangible and intangible. Not only the demand and supply is not only depend on the company information, but it is also depend on the state of the economy. It is also depend on the industry performance in which the company lies. Under this market risk, the investor can manage this kind of risk by assessing the fundamentals, which we will discuss later on. Under this market risk is due to the alternate forces of bull and bear market, due to the forces of demand and supply. These forces can be tangible or intangible. Let us move to the next factor, that is the interest rate risk. Due to the fluctuation in the market interest rate, what are the various forces of interest rate risk? These forces are, one of the biggest force of interest rate risk is the inflation in the economy. If the inflation, the CRR, the SLR of decided by the RBI, the bank rate floated in the market, the company, the RBI, the banks are floating their interest rate based on the inflation, based on the policy guidelines, based on the economic standard, economic well-being of a particular country. So, under this interest rate risk, if interest is going up, definitely the debt market will going up. If the interest rate is going down, the debt market performance will going down. There are two kind of market, as we have discussed: equity market. First is the equity market and second is the debt market. So, under the equity market, the shares stock exchanges, these are coming. Under the debt market, the debentures, bonds, debt instruments, these are coming. Company bonds, these are coming. So, under once there is a balance between a debt and the equity, once a debt market is performing well, it means how it is performing well, because the interest rate risk factor is low. Once the equity market is going well, it means there is a adverse impact on the debt market. So, once we are managing our interest rate risk, which is a part of systematic risk, this interest rate risk is due to the fluctuation in the market interest rate. This is the interest rate depend on the demand and supply of securities. If a particular debenture, if a particular bond, particular security is demanded more, definitely there will be the impact on the interest rate. Interest rate always be going either up, either down. Once the interest rate going up, the risk will be less. Interest rate going down, the risk will be high, because interest payment is the fixed payment made by the company, made by the company. So, this interest rate risk always with the investor. Next is the purchasing power risk. Purchasing power risk is due to the loss of purchasing power of currency. This is the purchasing power risk. Once there is a loss of purchasing power of currency, once the currency price is going down, definitely there will be the decrease in the, or there is a loss of purchasing power of currency. हमारी purchasing power, the purchasing power of currency is going down, we have to pay more for purchasing the same thing. It means the purchasing power of our currency, our national currency is going down, which generate the purchasing power risk. When it will be going down? Under the term of inflation, one of the inflation. We have to pay the same thing at a costlier price, at a higher price. It means our purchasing power, the currency has going down. If we have to pay more for the import, it means the purchasing power of our currency is going down. As per the international standard, we are measuring our Indian currency with the dollar, US dollar. So, under the US dollar, once the Indian currency rupee price is going down, we have to pay more. Once the rupee price is going up, we have to pay less. So, under the purchasing power risk, this is due to the loss of purchasing power of currency. Next is the international risk. International risk, these are due to international factors. International factors like the crude oil prices, the gold standard, gold prices at international market, the international factors like international deals, like in the recent past there is a Americo deal with China or India. There was a little struggle between the deal between with the Americo and Indian economy company and Americo and Chinese economy company. So, this was the international risk, whether that deal has been executed or not. So, international risk not only dealt with the this deal, Americo deal or the international companies deal, but this is due to the international factors like crude oil prices, gold prices and many other factors, international political factors and all. Next is the political risk. This is due to political instability. If in an economy there is the political instability, if the political imbalances is there, then there will be a political risk. No foreign institutional investor wish to invest in the market once he or they feel in the political risk in that particular economy. Present terms of India, there is a less factor of political risk because of political stability in Indian economy presently. So, this reduces the political risk for India also. The last but not the least, for the systematic risk part is the natural risk. This is due to the natural calamities like flood, hurricane, earthquake. These can be treated as the natural calamities. So, natural calamities, if an economy is facing higher factor, higher level of high seismic zone area, then that economy is come under the natural risk which is due to the natural factors, natural calamities. Now come to the types of unsystematic risk. Let us start with the business risk. This is due to the change in profit, and this is profit is influenced by the inability of the firm. Business risk, if we want to invest in a particular company, then that can be treated as the business risk. If a company, if a business of a particular company is going down, if the market share of that particular company is going down, which result in due to change in profit, which result in decline inability of the firm to increase the profit, then if the business market share of a firm is going down, if the market position of that particular company is going down, it means that company is facing the profit loss and the investor is feeling the business risk. This unsystematic risk can be minimized. An investor may or may not invest in that particular company which is suffering with the business risk. A business risk is associated if any other of the company, the investor cannot or may not invest in that particular company. So, this is the business risk. Next is the financial risk. This is the due to wrong capital structure, more financial leverage, more the risk. I think in your previous lectures, you have studied the financial leverage. Financial leverage is the proportion of debt funds in the total capital structure, that called the financial leverage. Higher the debt proportion, higher will be the financial leverage. Lower the debt proportion, lower will be the financial leverage, and higher financial leverage always leads to higher risk, which come under the category of financial risk. Financial risk is due to wrong capital structure. Capital structure like proportion between debt and equity. Proportion between debt and equity is called as the capital structure, and if this proportion is not optimum, then the firm is facing the financial risk, and this financial risk can be managed by balancing the debt equity ratio. Next is the default risk. Default is the variability of return due to the default made. If the variability of return, if the return which we are getting out of a particular investment, out of a particular business, if that return is variable, sometimes it is 5%, 6%, sometimes 15%, 20%, then that may be a default, that may be considered as the default risk. The next is managerial risk. This managerial risk is due to difference in managers and owners, if there is a associated with agency cost. If agency relationship is not fruitful in an organization, then that organization, that company is facing the managerial risk. If there is a difference, between the management and the employees of an organization, if there is a autocratic style of leadership, or we may say there is a difference between the opinion, between the policy and the implementation of that policy, then there will be a difference between the managers and owners, and it will increase the managerial risk. This managerial risk can be minimized by developing the healthy relations, within the organization. And the last is the liquidity risk. This liquidity risk is risk of liquidation of the company. If the liquidity position of a company is less, liquidity position you must know the liquidity position. I think liquidity position is the cash conversion capacity of the company, the paying capacity of the company, how effectively, how quickly the company can pay, that is called as the liquidity. And if the company's paying capacity is less, it develops the liquidity risk. This is risk of liquidation of company, and which is associated with stress. So, we have considered the two references for developing this content. The one is security analysis from Nagarjuna, and so another is Donald and Fisher. So, thank you very much. Thank you.